So after step 2, we need to go into step 3. So step 3 is creating the target path of the file. So we know that the file is moved into a temporary location, but we want to move this file into a permanent location on the server. So we have to specify the destination path. We have to create the destination path. Why do we need to create it? So if you go to your database that we did, you can see that for each of the files that we were working with, we have the path of the image in a specific location because we want all our images for the products to be in this specific path. So here you can see I have a folder called image, and inside that I have a folder, a subfolder called stuff, and inside the stuff folder I have my file, and the file name is also specific. That means that it has, this stuff, it's all everything which is have stuff name and dash and then the ID of the image dot the type of the file. So it is there inside my folder. If you go back to your folder in your htdocs file, inside image I have stuff, and inside stuff I have all these images over here. So I want to move my file here in this location. So I have to tell my function, whichever function is used in PHP, that this is my destination. Okay, so I will just go back and let's start to do the step 3, which is create the destination location. Okay, so what we are going to do over here is we are going to create a new file name, but this time the file name, or let's make it dest, which is the destination of the file. So we have the source of the file. This is my destination. The source is already there, which is the temporary name. The destination is what I'm going to create, which we just saw. So the destination has a specific path, right? img slash, so you can either do this or you can copy it from here, img slash stuff. So I'm going to do this, stuff slash stuff dash. Now it includes the ID, and I have the ID over here, which is in $PID, right? So I have the ID, and it is dot, but I don't know the extension because the file can be PNG or JPG or GIF. But you can see over here that I'm getting the type, but this type, as you saw, it's not the actual type. It will give me like image slash PNG or image slash JPEG. But sometimes it doesn't give you the exact extension. Okay, so we want to get the extension from the name of the file itself. So this is what we are going to do. So originally the file is supposed to have its name here, right, in the name. And we expect that the name would be something like, abc.png. So the name is here, like this. But sometimes this name, whatever you are getting it from the files array, is not just the name of the file. It includes the whole directory in the user's computer, the browser. So there might be some issue there. We just want the last part of the file. We don't want the complete path. So it will be something like this. Suppose you are using Windows, and it will be like Windows application slash user slash documents slash something like this, right? So everything before this is currently not useful for me. So I want to remove all of this. I just want the last part, and then I start to get the actual extension. So how do I get this part only? This part. I will like to ignore this part. So there is a function in PHP that allows you to do that. So if you go back to the cheat sheet, you can see it's not here. It's here, sorry. It's called base name. So whenever you use base name, it will remove the whole path, all the directories that is included in the name. If there is. If it is not, it will ignore it. That's it. So you have to name. We will go over here in the file name and make this base name. So what it is doing is it's actually just taking this together, if it is there, and just removing it. So your file, when it comes to the server, it will remove everything that is before the file name, and you will only receive the name and extension of the file. Once you receive the base name, you store them in the same variable, right? Because we don't need the whole path in any case, because that path is for the user's computer. I cannot access the user's computer from the server, so it's useless for me. So I will just need the last part, which is the abc.png. Now once I get this last part of the file, the next step that I have to do is I have to separate the name of the file and the extension of the file. So they are separated by this dot, right? This dot. So I have to use a function which splits them, and I will take the last part, which is the PNG part, right? So how do we split it? In Java, in PHP, the function that is used to split a file, split a string, is called explode. Okay, so let's store this. Let's say dollar, say extension, and we use split, explode. Sorry, explode, and you can see this explode function, and the explode function has two arguments, two parameters. These are, what do you want to split on? What is this text character that you want to split on? Here in our case, the character is a dot, because the file name and the extension are separated by this dot. And then you specify which string that I have to split, which is here in my case is my file name. Okay, so this is how I split it. Now once I split it, what is the extension here now? It is an array, because once it splits this will become 0 and this will become 1. The same as JavaScript. Whenever you split something, it becomes an array. Now once it becomes an array, I just need the last part of it, right? The last part of this array. The problem that we have is people can name their files like this, right? Because there is no requirement that there should be one dot in the file only. The file can have a dot in the middle. So in this case, what will happen is, if I do this, extension is explode, and I just use extension 0, I cannot do that. So I have to get the last of this only. I don't want anything that is middle. So I don't know which will be the last. I don't know if the user is going to enter a dot in the file name or not. So to avoid all these issues, we want to get the last one. So how do we get the last one? You would say, yeah, just use length -1, which is okay, correct. But in PHP, it gives you this method that allows you to get the last part of an array, the last item inside an array. And that method is called end. So it will give me the last index. Okay, so let's go back. This time I'm going to say $ext equal to end of $extension. So it will give me the last item, which is my file type. And I will store this over here as $text. This way, my destination is complete now. It will have the path that I want to send it in the server, and then the name of the file dot the extension of the file. Okay. Step number 4. Step number 4. What is step number 4? We would like to check for any issues. Now this step is very important for several reasons. I told you that whenever you want to upload a file, you have to ensure that the file did not have any errors while it is moved. And we saw that this error is actually stored inside this error variable. So how do we do that? We just use an if statement and say if not of $error, not of, because I don't want to have an error. So I want to execute the query if there is no error. But this is not the only thing that you usually test for. So let's see what are these things. You have to check for size, you have to check for error, and you have to check for the file type. Now why do we check these 3 things? Let me explain it to you. See, the size, whenever you try to upload something on the server, is sometimes limited. Why? Because we don't want the user to enter anything. Suppose I ask you for your profile picture and you upload a 1 GB file. Either you are doing something bad to my system to make it stop, to overload my server, or you actually have a picture of 1 GB, which is highly unlikely. right? So we have to limit the size. I know that you have seen many forms where you say upload only a file size of 500 KB or 1 MB or 2 MB only, because the server doesn't want to accept more than this size. Otherwise, people will upload whatever they like. So we want to tell them specifically that you have to have a file of this size. Okay, so how do we do that? So we say add the and we have the size here. You remember that? You have the size here and it's in bytes. So it says size is less than equal to, in our case we are going, if you look at the form, you can see that I've said maximum 500 KB. So we don't want anyone to upload more than 500 KB for the image. So we just go over here and say 500,000 because it's in KB, right? So it's the value that I have to enter over here is in bytes. So this is 500 bytes. 500,000 is 500 kilobytes. Okay, this is the second. We have to do this because we don't want users to upload any size for the file. The third condition is that the type of the file should be checked. Because if you are asking for image, people may upload a PDF file. It will not work because in the code, in the stuff.php page, you are showing the picture of all the items and PDF will not be a good thing to be there. So you have to enforce the type of the file. Now, how do we do that? You will tell me, okay, I have the type here, right? Which is okay, which is fine. But as I told you, sometimes this type, you have to understand that the names of these types will be different. So how can we do that? We are going to use a less, reliable method, but there are other methods which are more reliable. What are we going to do is we already have the extension. See, we got the extension over here. So what I'm going to do over here next is I am going to use this extension and check if this extension is inside the list of a pre-approved array. So if you go back to this to our cheat sheet, you can see this over here. In the extension over here, you have to do this. You create an array of all the accepted items that you will accept, all the accepted extensions. And then you will check whether the extension of the file that the user uploaded is inside this array. Okay, so let's create the array. $accept equal to array, and let's say I'm going to accept a PNG file, a JPG file, and a JPEG file. Okay, this is the only files that I'm going to accept. And then I have to, this is the only thing that I have to do. And then I have to use a function provided by PHP called inArray. So what does inArray do? It will check whether this extension is inside this accepted. So I will use it over here. inArray, I will see the extension, which is my ext, is inside of the accept. So once these conditions are satisfied, this will return a Boolean value. The inArray will return a Boolean value. So this Boolean value would be, 1 if it was found inside it, 0 if it was not there. So that means the extension is not valid. So you will not accept the file. So you have three conditions: size, extension, or the type of the file here, or the error. So if everything went okay, that means that you can now execute the query. So I create the query and I will execute the query. Now you know that, you remember, this query is not complete, right? Because I was just adding the ID, name, and price. I was not adding the image. But now I have the image here. But you see, the problem is, the file is still not in my server. I just did these steps. So the next step is to move the file to the target. So before running the query, I have to move the file to the actual location in the server. So how do we do that? There is a function in PHP to do that. We'll store that and in move result, and we'll call this function. The function is called move uploaded file. It has two parameters again, that is the source and the destination. So you have to provide for the move uploaded file function the source of the file, which is the temporary location, and the target which you created. You don't know the destination that you created. So let's do that. Temporary file is tmp, and then the destination is dest. So it will try to move the file from the folder inside your server from the temporary location to the permanent location. Once it tries to move this file to the permanent location, it may do it successfully or there may be some complication. So this status is actually stored inside this. So a $move result is a Boolean value. It will be true or false. So let's say it was true. So we check it, right? Because we cannot add the item to the query unless and until the move was successful. So if $move result, this is the place where we have to execute the query. So we cannot execute the query. See here, step 6. So step 5 is to move. Step 5, move the file to a permanent location. And then finally, if the file is okay, if the file was moved properly, we have to step 6, run the query. Okay, so this is what we were doing. Once we move the query, the result will be 0 or 1. But we have other errors as well, right? Errors if the file was not moved, error if there was any of these conditions not satisfied. So this will be inside these else statements here, here, and here. Okay. Now, what do we do in these else statements? We just set the result to 0. That's simple. We set the result to 0. And we set the result over here also to 0. Because the result will be 0 whenever we are not successfully uploading the file, right? Let's go back. I'm going to say result is 0. So if the result is 0 here, that means the query was not successful. If the result is 0 here, that means the file was not moved properly from the temporary location to the permanent location. If the result is 0 here, it may be because the size is greater than 500 KB, or there is an error moving the file from the browser to the server, or it can also be that the file is not of the correct type. Okay, so these are the steps that we have to do. As you can see that it's not very difficult, but it has a stepwise procedure to upload a file. Now let's run our program to see if it's working or not. So let me refresh this page, and I'm going to say 109 because the last item that I have in my database is 108. And then I'm going to add this new item that I have. And then I'm going to choose the file, which is this one. And then I'm going to add the price, say 1,200. Say add. So the item was added successfully to the database. Let's confirm. Let's go back to our database, refresh the page, and you can see the item was added. Okay, the image was not added for some reason. Why? Oops, something happened. Okay, the image was not added. The destination is empty for some reason. Did I do it correctly? Yeah, I said, oh, okay. Okay, the file was moved. Let's see, the file is here. But I made a very important mistake. I told you I will do this, but I forgot to do that, right? So what I did was here, I tried to insert the item, but I forgot to add the image here. I have to have the image because now it's only trying to, in the query, it is adding only ID, name, and price. Where is the image? So I have to add the image here. So I have to say, image. I am using img, right? Let's go to the, yeah, I'm using img equal to, and since it is a string, I have to put it inside quotations. And where is this? It is stored inside the destination. This is my location of the image. And then I will save it. So since I made a mistake, I'm going to delete this row. I'm going to delete the image here. And then I could redo it again because I made a mistake. Okay, so let's refresh this page and go do it again. 109. ring. I'll choose a file which is my ring file. I'm going to make this 1200. This time I need to add it. Item added successfully to database. Let's go back and browse it. Yep, it's working now. So we have 109, our earning, and this is my path, and this is my price. And if I go back, you can see my image is here, which is the one that I just transferred. Okay, and you can confirm also by going to the stuff.php page and seeing, yeah, it is there. My ring is there. Okay, you can also go back and test, other things. Like if you try to insert this again, you should get an error, right? Because the ID should be unique. So if I try to add it, you can say, sorry, the item was not added. Why? Because it's a duplicate item. So this is how you add the data. This is how you try to add the file uploads to your to your program. Okay. Thank you very much.